This is just like a too long video. I don't know how much more I want to do this. If you haven't done the former, the advanced course, two best things I've ever done in my life. I don't represent them whatsoever, but check out Landmark Worldwide, call your local office, or just register online. And, you know, there would be a space at the very end of you registering of saying, like, what do you want to get out of the forum? 5 days, and I wrote literally everything that I've ever wanted in my entire life. And you either get those things that you've wanted your entire life out of the 5 days, or you are way further along in that journey than you ever thought you would be in just 5 days.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So
well, that's interesting that you mentioned that because, Steve Hassan, someone is, I consider.
Steve Hassan, bite model, he was a Mooney, and Landmark Forum, Landmark Worldwide, Landmark staff has nothing to do with the bite model whatsoever. There's no control. It's self-empowerment. It's people being empowered fully and inspired fully on their own accord. And inspired, opposite of motivation, or not opposite necessarily, but inspire is Greek for inspire, to breathe life into. Um,
Girlfriend. And when I interviewed him on my channel, I was surprised, honestly, I was a little surprised that Steve, who is a cult expert, said, well, anything can be a cult. Apple users can be a cult. Steve said, I'm in the cult of scuba divers. But then you can have, is it a harmful cult or?
There you go. Yeah, I'm sure you could make Landmark culty if you spent all your money and all your time there. Um, that's when people would hit the burnout stage of like, I can't continue to do this without the time and the money. So like, if you're gonna go on staff, then make sure you know the hours, make sure you have your personal life set, maybe go to work there for 6 months, then leave, go focus on your personal life, then come back when you have your personal life handled. Um, but the form of the advanced course is just like unbelievable 10 days for the rest of your life. It's like,
or is
10 days for the rest of your life can't be a cult. It's like,
it a destructive cult or a non-destructive cult? And I remember, just as someone who doesn't think about this very much other than
no, I mean, very effective, destructive or non-destructive.
Scientology, I was like, ooh, that feels like a slightly dangerous, slippery slope, because if you can say anything is a cult, you're actually taking the power out of that.
More like people make things cults by not like putting the oxygen mask on themselves first and like giving themselves fully to something that they think is the right way or the one way. And by the way, after the forum, most people go on to do a million other disciplines. So it's not like this is the one thing. It's like, no, I just am open-minded to other things that might benefit me. And lo and behold, I've made tons of money and had tons of great relationships because I happened to take a leap that a lot of my friends and family that I'm like, oh, you should check this out. And it's like, okay, and then like they just don't do it and then have the same complaints that they've always had. It's like I gave you the answer, not the answer, but I gave you an outlet to be able to get what you wanted. And like, I don't know, you got stopped by something, whatever it is. But
Word.
so yeah, I've dug into, like, I did this 19 years ago, and there's certain people that I wasn't fully open with my brother about it, because I'm like, well, because of these like little concerns, like maybe this landmark forum thing isn't really something that's been, maybe I made it up, maybe I was the one that was manipulated in a cult. But then after 19 years of just effective like living and now like putting myself in the situation I'm in now, it's like, okay, I can get that this was never a cult. This has only just been like the most incredible thing. And like, why would you hide something that was a difference maker and in the difference that you're looking to make? Why would you hide that from anyone?
yeah,
But I wasn't questioning him. That was just my emotional reaction to what he was saying. I didn't try to question him about it,
yeah. And that's what he said is pretty much almost verbatim what Rick says as well. So he says, and if you look up the word cult in the dictionary now, you're going to see cult of brand, cult of personality, cult, the
And I would never make Landmark out like someone, if someone makes Landmark a cult, then they are not following they didn't, there's something they're not present to about their forum because it's about free thinking. Um, it's literally not the same free thought that people think of when they think of free thinking. Um, People think of free thinking as that little voice inside your head that doesn't shut up. But that's not free thinking. Insufficient. So that while thinking you and I are, the very thinking that got us to where we are, that sort of thinking produces problems, which that thinking isn't powerful enough to solve. This is an Einstein quote. Um, This is really about doing your own thinking, thinking for yourself. And this notion about thinking for yourself is not what one ordinarily thinks of as thinking. So I want to be clear about that. While what I mean by thinking for yourself and what these kinds of people who are quoted on the board, I think they're talking about Wittgenstein or Heidegger, meant by thinking for yourself, doing your own thinking. That is not ordinary thing we call thinking. You know, these thoughts that keep going on in the back of your head, that isn't the kind of thinking about which people were speaking. They weren't talking about your opinion or what comes out of your mouth when you say I think, or what comes out of your mouth when you say I feel, nor what comes out of your mouth when you say I believe. They weren't talking about that when they were talking about doing your own thinking. They were really talking about something like this: standing on top of what is being said, climbing up on it, as Wittgenstein said, and looking out at life, at your life, at the world for yourself, looking for yourself, seeing for yourself. And that's why I dare to say anything at all. Not because I'm asking you to believe it, but because I'm you. Climb up on it and look and think for yourself in a way that in which we've now spoken about thinking. I'm also committed to not being a windbag tonight. That's not being like a guy in a diner. I promised you earlier not to give you my opinion, not to tell you what I think, what I like, what I don't like, what I want, what I don't want. I want to read you this really wonderful quote from Max Weber. He says, I am under the impression that in 9 out of 10 cases, I deal with windbags. Probably hung out with pretty good people if you had that good of a batting average. But at any rate, in 9 out of 10 cases, I deal with windbags that do not fully realize what they take upon themselves when they speak and when they listen and when they think and when they act and when they are. So to intoxicate themselves in a romantic sensation, like I believe may be a romantic sensation. My experience has proven maybe a romantic sensation. Everybody knows maybe a romantic sensation. Everybody, all the best people know. I read maybe a romantic sensation. From a human point of view, there is nothing interesting. This is not very interesting to me, nor does it move me profoundly. However, it is immensely moving when a mature person, whether old or young in years, is aware of a responsibility for the consequences of his or her speaking. You see, you and I don't take our speaking very seriously. We have no sense that we are our word. In fact, we pretty much don't trust each other's word anymore. The one way not to get elected is to make promises. Nobody trusts you if you promise. He's aware of a responsibility for the consequences of his speaking and of his conduct. And really feels such a responsibility with his heart and soul. He then acts following the ethic of responsibility. By the way, responsibility doesn't mean here blame or guilt or fault. Something much more profound, something not like you and I ordinarily mean when I say I am responsible for that. He's talking about something more profound. At any rate, he goes on to say that he then acts following his ethics and responsibility. In somewhere, he reaches the point where he says, Here I stand. You don't hear that very much, do you? You hear, I'm here because. Let me tell you what's right about why I'm here. Let me tell you why I'm here. Let me prove to you here is the right place. No, he says at some point, he gets to the point where he says, Here I stand. I can do no other. That is something genuinely human and moving. And every one of us who is not spiritually dead must realize the possibility of finding themselves at that position. So tonight is about that position. I want to be clear that we work with tonight is about the issues of the heart and matter for human beings, but the purpose in engaging in those issues, the purpose is a very practical, hard-headed impact on your everyday concerns.
Word, that's the great thing about the English language is it's very flexible and it morphs and changes based on how society is using it at the time. So, that's why. And so I told Rick, and then I said, well, Rick, and he offered to write the foreword for my book. And I'm like, okay. And I said, but I really want you to read it. And he did. And I said, you might change your mind about your answer at Landmark when you read my book. And he kind of did. So, because the piece they had always used to defend that they weren't a cult was this piece about having a singular leader that is worshipped. Because he was gone. Remember, they erased him for a lot of the time. And so what my book kind of my journey, what I discovered is that leader was always there. And now I know a lot because I've had so many.
Brian talked about this a little bit. How did I not know that Warner was the creator of Est and then Est ended up being Landmark Education, which ended up being Landmark Worldwide? It's like, because it was never about Warner. It was always about the ideas, and the employees always owned the company. It was never owned by him alone. And there was always a board, and there was always the court of public opinion.
Many people call me and tell me stories like, I know he's been getting the statistics of those sales since the day he turned it over.
They count people because people count. And if your aunt got what she wanted out of life, like she wanted when she was 6 years old and has been attempting to get that forever, um, like she's not a statistic. She's a number of people that got what they want out of life. So that's extremely important to count people because that person really counts for the world. Do you not want me to keep track of the difference I'm making on the planet? That is absurd.
And I'm sure they'll say that one of the things
men lie and women lie, but numbers don't lie unless the man or the woman made up the numbers.
That Landmark uses, I bet Scientology does the same thing, but they use a lot of
another
precise
between Scientology and Landmark
language to sort of obfuscate and hide and justify.
No, there's nothing hidden. There's no obfuscation. So this website that link what I went to the other day was down, but I guess this isn't down. So that just one link was not down with Mrs. Neff. Interesting that you took your own. Well, let's search for this one and not do it through Google and see. So my bad. I said that this website wasn't up, but it is. Okay, yeah, here you go. I'll see. See what happens when you click on this. It's not that dead link that I went to last night, but okay, yeah. So you basically copied and pasted this stuff here. She settled out of court. Yeah, anyway, it's like you got no proof, bro. You just keep talking a lot of stuff.
All kinds of nonsense. So they'll say, oh, well, we had to pay him, 2% of the gross and 50%.
Yeah, there's an agreement to get royalties, whatever it was. But yeah, again, by any definition of cult, Landmark Worldwide is not a cult at any level. And even Rick Ross agrees that the form and the advanced course are in no way a cult, and maybe it is a cult at the higher levels, but that's all like based on complete inaccuracies and no examples. Give me some examples.
Pretending in this.
I watched all of your interviews, and not one example. Just talk about abuse and a lot of people and da 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 da. Yet you can't tell me one example of he said, she said, or touched or anything like that. It's just all like nonsense.
But that doesn't mean he had something to do with you or, whatever. I'm sure they'll have a whole defense. And,
No, Landmark Worldwide doesn't defend. They may sue for trademark infringement or accusing them of being a cult when they're not. But they're not, and they get like a defense lawyer, so to speak, but it's not a Well, they wouldn't be a defense lawyer, but in any event, if someone were to sue them and they needed a defense lawyer, they wouldn't be defending in the normal type of a way that someone would be defending that, like, oh, like, let's get this criminal a bunch of evidence that gets them off the hook. It would be more like, okay, we see your point of view, that you're suing us for that reason, and let's talk about it. And then all of a sudden the lawsuit happens to disappear or get settled out of court. It's like it clearly wasn't that big of an issue. You would see the actual suit and testimony, etc.
Maybe if they sue you or me, we'll be very happy to get them into discovery as quickly as possible so we can find.
Great. It's been 55 years and y'all been saying the same exact excuse of like getting them to go to discovery. It's
the whole thing is, it lives in this very hidden, weird territory. But it was Rick who's.
You can make up that it's hidden and weird, but they're not breaking the law and people are getting what they want, and anybody's allowed to leave whenever they want. Like, even some of these staff members are like, I just had it. I had to leave early. Well, you gave a commitment for 6 more months and you left at 5. You broke your word and you want to blame somebody else because you think that they're lying when they're not lying. Like, you're making up that they're lying, but can't give me any evidence that they lied.
Said, well, I can see that by the time you get to the.
Very simple. You just play the quote or the video of someone talking or the audio of someone talking, and then you let people decide. But like, to make up that this is a lie and you're right and they're wrong is like, okay, so give me the evidence.
Those inner circles, that element,
there's no inner circles. I mean, there's a board, but it's not like an inner circle that you can't go talk to somebody.
Pillar called the worshiping of a source, a singular leader.
Worshiping of, like, you're making up. There's no written anything anywhere near Landmark that has anything to do with worshiping or like a specific person.
Is very alive. And so he was the one who really kind of
close but no cigar
said that, kind of gave me that 3-tiered thing. And part of it too is, so people can hear, and, you come at people and you go, hey, you're in a cult. Mostly what you'll get is a wall, and they won't.
No, you're getting okay, show me where it's a cult, and you haven't. And I'm not going to buy somebody's book to get the thing that I'm looking for your evidence that it's a cult. And if you can give me one shred of it on the internet for free, I will buy your book. Abso-freaking-lutely. I'm completely open-minded to, is this a cult? Thank you for asking the question. And the answer is no, not in one way whatsoever. So why are you trying to profit off of calling something?
Usually I'd like to see people who have.
Sounds like a very litigious way for you to get around not calling it a cult while still getting your opinion across that it is. Meanwhile, it meets no dictionary definition of cult whatsoever.
Thinking like, hey, was that really good for me? What?
And like the responses I get back for you are like, oh, you're giving me a good idea. We'll cover this. It's like, okay, yet you're not.
Let me ask you this, and
you're talking about covering it, but you're not covering. You're talking about manipulation, talking about abuse, but can't give me any he said, she said.
I apologize if you answered this and I missed it. It does seem to be a bit of a contradiction to me that
I would agree, actually.
What I'm casually calling the cult is built upon or based upon an activity that occurs at the introductory level.
No, you are component. You're taking apart, deconstructing sociology, and then assuming that that's what they do over at Landmark with zero experience.
Right.
That I think
Ann has plenty of experience. Aaron didn't even do the forum or the advanced course, and he would, oh my gosh, your channel would blow up. You'd make a massive difference on people that don't want to be in Scientology and are feeling forced to be in there. Bro, growing up Scientology, bro, I challenge you. If it's so much of a cult, then come get me out because I don't pay them any money. I don't do anything with them. I don't represent them. I'm not affiliated with them. I don't make any money off of them. I don't influence for them. I'm not defending them.
I think in the beginning of our chat, you said was not a cult, that if you're doing Landmark's forums, you're not in a cult, but the entire cult exists to facilitate that. So how do we reconcile this?
He's literally like, "Hey, it sounds like contradiction," and she's like, "Well, I agree with the contradiction that it is a cold, and that anybody not calling it a cold isn't a cold." And then he's questioning her. He's actually doing great, Aaron. You're pushing back. This is excellent, and interpreted your contradiction to mean that people saying it's not a cold are contradictory. And meanwhile, you weren't saying that at all, Aaron. Aaron was saying. And you're being a little bit contradictory by saying, and Rick Ross saying that it is not a cult at the lower levels, but somehow it is a cult. How do you reconcile that?
Very, very, very good question. So,
I people have criticized people that respond with, "Thank you for that. That's a very good question." Every time that they get a question, I'm not saying Ann does that every time. Um, And I've understood that criticism, and I'm like, wait a second, how do you expect me to think on my feet if I can't use the words? That's a great question, or complimenting the question. Um, it just doesn't seem genuine. I'm really starting to see the disingenuineness of answering a question with "that's a great question." That tells me that you really don't have the answers, and you're kind of seeing where your BS comes from, and you're now like kind of a little deer in headlights.
I mean, you're asking the question that I've been wrestling with hard.
You've been wrestling with. I mean, do I struggle with the question, what do I not know that I don't know, or what kind of a being is a human being? Like, yes, but that's a question that's leading to inspiration for myself and my family and my community, versus the struggling with, is this a cult, and not and putting your I wonder if you're a what is it where you're on both sides of the river, the Gemini, the two sides. I wonder if Anne's a Gemini and you can't you have one side of your foot on the river bank that says, is this a cult? And the other side of your foot on the river bank that says that this made a massive difference in my family. And you're just like, you're splitting over the river. And it must be painful.
For now, for the last year, but intensely since the book came out. And
This is all, she takes 2 minutes to tell me a story of like how she's been struggling with this for 2 years. Land reform gets stuff done like that. Like one conversation, I say what I need to say. Now I'm wholly clear on something that I was unclear about or whatever. They teach you to get stuff handled rapid fire. So to take 2 years to deal with a question it's not a question that people have been questioning for centuries and millennium. It's just
I started to, because the part I'm having a hard time with, so say even
you answered the question. You've gone on for 3 minutes about how you're struggling and you have a problem with something and this and then that. And oh no, I missed what time I was at. Well, we might have to end this video, but in any event,
all they say explicitly is you cannot participate in other disciplines. And then
yeah, you don't want to be studying the Bible or theology as a discipline and think that, well, that's a bad example. Let's say a discipline like I don't know. The point is just you're not studying two disciplines at once. Why should I study a discipline that says work harder when Limerick Form never says work? It doesn't say working hard is like a skill set that you should use.
Right.
Then it's kind of a case by case thing. And
but yeah, hey guys, I'm just putting this out there. You respond back with your videos, you respond back with your comments, and tell me I'm humble. I'm willing to take any criticism you have.
They had a whole bunch of leaders that were participating with Saima recently.
Yeah, Saima. It's like you just want to compare things. What is Saima? Um, I don't know. It's just very dangerous to compare and despair. Master of Sciences.
a while back in the sun, about 6, 7, 8 years ago. And I don't know what happened, but they came out and they said, if you're participating in SIMA, you cannot be a leader at Landmark. And they lost leaders.
Okay, that's good. You don't want people sharing with people in over a phone with your potential customers about some methodology that you got and you think is the right methodology when it's not the methodology, that it's like antithesis or like something different than what the forum's teaching. I mean, it's like
What is
the forum is meant to address what it means to be human in the advanced course. And it covers all of it. There is nothing missing out of it. It's been 55 years of development.
SIMA is a spiritual teacher. It's another cult. Anyway.
I think. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like there is someone at the top of SIMA that is the teacher and the guru.
By the way, for anyone more
Doesn't happen in Landmark. There is no one guru.
recently joining us, you can find Anne's book. Let me be able to scroll up on this. Up. Is This a Cult by Anne?
Again, and you could be focusing on real cults like Scientology, or I don't know what other people call cults, and I don't even necessarily call Scientology a cult. It's a religion. Like what? But you could be focused on real cults and real danger and real trafficking as opposed to calling something that you got extreme benefit of, and you would not have the relationship with your husband that you have if it were not for Landmark. And I'm not saying that's the end all be all. I'm saying that y'all are open-minded to take other risks in your life or do other things or be open to other things and looking into other things that other people in your life that aren't into those that aren't open, that aren't even open to looking at it. Be like, this made me $10 million. And they're like, oh, it's a scam. Call me in 10 years when you lost all your money. It's like, how many years do we have to go before you're like, oh, wow, that thing that Lee did 10 years ago, it's probably working for him.
Ann Peterson. And you can find this on Amazon, and I assume anywhere. B2B business.
Yeah, putting integrity into every industry. And it's going to then be the law of the marketplace.
Are sold. By the way, I've never spoken with Rick Ross before. I wouldn't even know how to reach him, but I'd love to have him on if he'd ever be interested. And if you want to,
I think
pass my info.
He's really, it'd be great. I mean, I would definitely tune in to hear you. I love the questions you're asking. I've been asking them of myself.
Yeah, because you were basically called out and you weren't able to give any actual answer.
And, I don't know if you experience this, but it kind of goes in stages. First, you kind of go, uh-oh, I think I'm in something.
So I don't know if you experienced this at your cult. I experienced it at my cult. I don't even know if it's a cult. I'm just calling it a cult. You're comparing Landmark to Scientology, and then someone responds back to me, oh, well, they're both ridiculous. I'm like, oh, interesting. No problem. Okay, I'm in Illinois. Where are you at? Just curious. And have you done the forum? Have you done the advanced course? What is it that made you think that it's ridiculous? I understand why you think Scientology is ridiculous. And just in case I never see this comment again, because I reply back to these comments and then no one responds back, and then I goes into the ether and I'm not going to look at it. I'm not going to look at the comments that I may have responded to 10 weeks ago to find out if that person responded to it or not. If you didn't respond, that means I blew up your spot and you were either a bot, you were someone trying to take down Landmark, or a foreign entity, or you just like made an assumption and you didn't really realize that it isn't ridiculous at all and could really improve your, not improve your situation, but because that would be a comparison to something else. But I left off that comment with, what do you want for yourself and your life and your family and your community and your work and your place of worship and your nation and your world? And you tell me, well, like, oh, I want to be baller. I want it all. I want, what did the person say to me the other day? They want to be, one person responded to that question and they said, I want to be a baller. And I'm like, all right, great. So do the form and you'll be a baller. Like, it's
that's not healthy.
Scientology seems to be a place that you go to be spiritual, to be religious, to be with people, in your community, to be with people that align with your viewpoints. And Landmark is not a place that you go to. It's First of all, it's on Zoom, but it's not like a community that I'm joining where I'm gonna come together with my Landmark family every few weeks or months. No, literally, I took the forum and I've never seen any of those people ever again. Never interacted with them, never had any desire to interact with them. Like I got stuff going on in my own life. I don't have time to like take on a new community and go be a part of that. I mean, if I wanted to, I could, but I would go find a actual community, not Landmark, because it's not what it's meant for. It's not.
Yeah.
Now, by the time I said that, I was 70 pounds overweight, had an autoimmune condition.
There you go. You are breaking your responsibility for your health. You're breaking your word with your health. If you clearly were focused. It's the oxygen mask stuff I was talking about. It's like if you're so focused on your work that you don't pay attention to your health, do you see how that's out of integrity? Do you see how you tried to help other people get healthy without taking care of your own health first? And people are like, oh, well, like doing what the doctor told me to. That's not you free thinking. That is you doing what someone else told you to do.
And was completely fried. And
yeah. You're taking responsibility for your being fried because you didn't take care of your health because you thought that some other work thing or someone was pressuring you to do some work thing was more important.
Within the lightweight, easy version, I wasn't anywhere near. I mean, I think Brian talked about this too. This is another thing. There's no statistics on this because, of course, they wouldn't allow it to be kept. But I've lost count of mostly how you get out of Landmark is you get kicked out for something or other.
Something or other. You go spreading like, give me examples. And kicked out when you said 9 and you walk in with 8 and you chose to work there and you're making 55 grand a year and you're making a difference in people's lives and you're getting training on top of that 50 grand a year for you to go be more effective in your life out after you left or in your life currently. They're not kicked out. They are getting upset that they're being held to their word of them bringing in 8 and then promising 9 and then being upset that they weren't able to deliver 9 and then they feel pressured that they weren't able to deliver 9 when they forced me to do 9 when it's like you're the one that agreed to 9 to begin with and why didn't you counteroffer with 7 to begin with so you could have hit 8 so you could have exceeded your...
Or you get sick or you die.
Get sick. Yeah, that is you not being responsible for your and you're like, oh, well, they pushed me to work these hours. Like maybe there's something that you don't know about nutrition and health and taking care of yourself that you allowed it to get to that space of you eating fast food because you didn't have time to go eat a healthy food when you didn't realize that fast food could be healthy if you just ate the right pieces of the fast food and don't allow the fast food restaurant to manipulate you or tell you what is healthy or tell you what is okay because they serve it or tell you what's healthy because they put it on their label or that's not free thinking.
And a few
or die. I mean, that person really gave their all. Their gravestone does not say something was missing. If they passed and they kept working there until they passed. That gravestone of that person that worked there until they passed says all used up. They gave everything that they had, and they made a difference for tens of thousands of people that they never even talked to. And those people went on to live great lives, and those people went on to have kids when before they didn't want to have kids. And those people went on to be great husbands and wives and great parents when before things were not going to go that way.
Women got pregnant, but I've now heard, I literally am keeping a list. I've heard from 7 women who, when they got pregnant, they were
great. Bring them on and interview them.
Managers, and they were sort of, some were outright asked if they were going to get an abortion. But mostly they're kind of like, well, what are you going to...
Somehow outright asked if they were getting abortion. It's like when you work with a colleague and the colleague comes up to you and says, "Hey Lee, should I get an abortion? I don't know if I should have a family or not right now because I don't have the money to do that right now." That is that person talking to me like a friend then, and we happen to work at the same office together. Like, unless you want to bring on a center director that was pushing someone pregnant to get an abortion and get their word on camera, I don't believe you're accurate. I believe two people had a conversation in private and then you made it mean something that someone's trying to pressure someone into doing something that, no.
Do about that, because being a mom and being a staff is not compatible, which
You could work your life out to make it compatible. You could make an agreement to somehow have that baby in the office. Maybe they don't allow that type of thing. So maybe you need to work your life out for you to make enough money for you to take time off staff, for you to take care of that child, and then maybe come back later. But nothing's stopping you from that. Just fulfill the agreement that you made, end the agreement, and come back later. Or see if you can make an agreement to have the baby and come back later and fulfill your commitment after your X amount of time. It's all in a conversation. So to say this person's, you have a list of 7 people that said that this happened. It's like, great, bring them on. Oh, well, they don't want to talk in public. Sorry, lady. Sorry.
when you read outrageous
Just, it's just nonsense. And tell me conjecture. And then it's like, if they really were pissed about it, somebody would say something. Not you telling me what somebody else said and and without any actual, they asked me, when are you getting an abortion because you can't work here with that baby? No, that conversation's made up in your head.
betrayal and you go to the roots. See, that's where the big awakening happened.
To the roots and the big awakening and the source and the worshiping and the manipulation and the abuse. You're just talking about things without actually giving me an example. I love you, Ann. I'm sure you're doing great things with your life, which is why you haven't published a video in a year, but
I read that, I would like to say that it all occurred to me as Scientology propaganda designed to destroy.
what? You're taking your experience at Landmark and then saying that you got Scientology propaganda? What? What are you even talking about?
But given I had just finished 8 years working alongside Werner, there wasn't a single thing in that book that was hard to believe, even slightly.
Hard to believe because nobody's asking Werner wasn't asking you to believe anything. But why would he put something in a book that people are gonna naturally disagree with? Like, it sounds like they just edited it to the point where it worked for all people. What did you think something that was going to work for all people would look like?
Just like when his staff, people from his staff and ex-staff started coming to me asking for help, and what they, was this abuse, there's a whole other thing about pay refunds when he gets pissed and he'll demand a pay refund, and literally he has staff members that owe him more money at the end of the month than he owes them as contractors. You know what that's called? The lawyers explained it to them. That's called domestic servitude, is the polite term.
Okay, well, they don't do that anymore. If that was true, I don't believe that that's true. But if it was true, then it's not happening anymore.
Slavery is the not polite term. So,
I just want to tell a little anecdote about. So, I was in Scientology. Basically, I was 4 years old when my mom got into Scientology. I was 34 years old when I officially left Scientology. And from the age of basically 12 to 26, I was working full-time for Scientology with a little break there at one point. And that's kind of just a precursor to saying, in my experience, the simplistic explanation for when you're in a cult, it's like the most distilled example of appeal to authority. Just the appeal to authority. Mm-hmm. Something is true because the authority said it. Something that the people up, they know what they're doing. And in this case, they was just L. Ron Hubbard. But the authorities have it under control. The authorities have the secret knowledge. They have the expertise, the best contacts, better access. And they're also benevolent. And they have.
Oh, of course.
So yeah, he's saying that L. Ron Hubbard was the cult leader. Even though he passed, they still, I guess, maybe worship him. I don't know too much about that. But the point is that they're is no ultimate leader. There is no secret. I mean, I read that in either this video or the last one, but oh yeah, and it says here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
She wants to talk about how the lawyers talk about domestic servitude at Landmark, and there's like no credible formerly Landmark education. So I'm not really sure what you're talking about, Anne. Please send me the indictment or the court filing or something. You seem to be talking a lot of trash and not being able to back it up. No offense. Love you. This might be going a little long here. Peace and love. Hope you're having a great day.